Can they hear me? They hear me live out there. Next beat. That ain't the beat I wanted to.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat.
You know?
Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope. That's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up.
Oh, word.
Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder than my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, nanny ghosts, Velas, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working or hustling to get it or get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater. Watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college port to bang out, cause you don't want to get caught at mom's crib or at Vaughn's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. 80s, baby.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, interneters all. Welcome to the XCast, right here on the EmpireMedia.com. Webisode number 84 of the XCast, to be precise. It's day 5120 in the search for Tim Chevelday. I'm your host, Josh Houselander. With me, as always, the master and commander of all things here at the EmpireMedia.com. The one, the only Adam Hernandez. What is up, Adam? How you doing, buddy?
Nothing much. How are you, man?
I'm awesome, dude. We took a little vacation this summer,
Yeah.
a little hiatus, but it's good to be back.
Went to Wally World.
Yeah, went to Wally World. No, it's good to be back, man. It was a nice breather to take a little break there, but
They weren't open.
yeah. Wally World just never open. Never open. But how you been, Matt? You all right?
I've been all right. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be back. Glad to get back in the swing of things over here at the Empire Media and start putting our shows back out there, man. We had a lot to talk about, lots to do. Hey, man.
Hey.
I guess let's talk some Donald Trump, man. Since we've been gone for a while, let's talk some current events. Let's talk some of this stuff. Tell me if you kind of, because I know we disagree on a lot of things politically, of course. Neither one of us are Trump fans, but you are, I think, definitely more of a hater than me. But tell me if you're with me on what I'm saying here. Just at this point, I'm so kind of apathetic and feel removed from the system as a whole. As somebody that's always just kind of, I followed politics, not even because I thought I had to. I actually just liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. It's always been something that interested me big time since I was a little kid. I just loved, watching political, debate, canter, whatever.
Sure.
But at this point, I just feel so far removed from it all. And I just wonder, I don't want to blame Donald Trump completely, and I don't want to blame the media on the other side completely or anything, but I mean, just the polarization of our nation under Donald Trump as president. And again, I'm not blaming all that on Trump. It's both sides here. He's only one man, for God's sakes. I mean, we're a nation, but the polarization under him, is this just because of Trump, or is that just how the nation is now? Is this the new normal? Is this how our country is going to be forever now? And we can only have Trump for either 4 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gone. 8 years is, especially when you become an old dude like me, 8 years used to seem like a long time. It's a blink of an eye, man. It's nothing, will this end when Donald Trump is gone?
You know what? I see this. I see the Donald Trump presidency. I see Donald Trump coming to power, taking the reins of a nation and moving forward with it. It's one of those. I see it as one of those. I don't want to say turning points, but it's one of those. It's one of those times in our history where the nation can go one of two ways, or you look at it and you see some type of change within the nation as a whole. The last time I want to say that we saw something like this, where the nation was changed forever, and it's two completely different set of circumstances here, was 9/11. 9/11 was one of those times in our history, in the nation's history, where nothing was ever the same again. September 10th was far different from September 12th, 2001.
Yeah.
I mean, it was two completely different worlds. I mean, there was, and to the credit of somebody like George W. Bush, and you look at, and ironically enough, I mean, Donald Trump and George W. Bush are in the same party. Never a fan of either.
Yeah,
of
no,
either
I
guy.
know you were not a George W. Bush fan. I know you didn't vote for him either time.
Look, the world would have changed either way, whether it was George W. Bush, if he was president then, if it was Al Gore, or if it was Donald Trump. The thing that you have to hand George W. Bush, and I'm talking, liberals, conservatives, moderates, whatever, the way that George Bush handled maybe not so much foreign policy at that time, because obviously September 11th, I think, eventually led to the Iraq War, which was a huge clusterfuck. But the way that he handled stuff at home, I thought was night and day in comparison. I mean, this is maybe an unfair comparison considering Donald Trump hasn't had to deal with that. However, I think we have a pretty good indication. What would the world be like if Donald Trump was president then? Spewing the same type of rhetoric that he is now. What would happen in America if that happened then? And how would people take to that? Like I said, I think, and maybe this is just, relatively speaking to what we see now, but George W. Bush handled things at home, for the most part, I think, well. Fast forward to Donald Trump, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever be the same again. I don't know if the polarization will ever go away to the point where it's just two different political parties and you disagree on policy, whether it's, okay, well, I have my beliefs on healthcare, Josh, you have your beliefs on healthcare. I have my beliefs on the education system, you have your beliefs on the education system. We debate, we give our points.
Relatively healthy
Yep.
debate, usually.
Yep. And that's the end of it. We go our separate ways. I don't know if it's going to ever be like
the
that
question
again.
I have, Adam, too, and I don't know what brought this apart. I'd never thought about what you said with the September 11th comparison. It's good. I like it. And I guess with that is that you saw basically the polar opposite Americas through that. You saw at that point, you saw a complete unification of the country. And right now, for something that you can't really even pinpoint as much as the trade towers just went down, you have this just complete divide. I mean, just an absolute divide between the country now. And it almost seems like you have to pick a side. I mean, I try to make my points, and my views are not common, I guess. I'm a libertarian guy, and I have problems with both of the two political parties, and I have a problem with just the political party system, just the way it is, and the way we worship them. I don't have a problem with the idea of political parties, by the way. I really don't. I don't actually even really have a problem with a bipartisan or just a two-party system. I actually don't really even have a problem with it. I just have a problem with the basic party worship. that, to me at this point, we shouldn't even call them political parties. We should call them tribes. Because you just, you are loyal to one tribe, and that's all. And it seems like a lot of people will deny that they are like that, but they're wrong. You're claiming that you're, not like that, but no, most people, they really are. Mm-hmm. And when I say most, I mean vast majority. But I guess my question would be to someone like you or to anyone else, okay, the Democrats hate Donald Trump. That is, very apparent. Some of the things they say, their hatred isn't unfounded. But at the same time, I do feel like a lot of it is just, it's silly rhetoric, and they're looking for any reason to jump all over them. And half the stuff they jump all over, I find silly. So I'm like, there's plenty of stuff to rip on this guy about. Why? Why that? They pick apart dumb rally speeches and just, go crazy. It's fine, I guess. But my question is, say the Trumpkins are kind of right about something. Not even right about policy or anything like that. But if what was being reported in the news was true, then we don't have that much to worry about, because Trump will lose in a landslide in 2020. He'll get destroyed. He'll get annihilated by any reasonable candidate. If the news was 100% right. If the Democratic Party was 100% right, and with what we're hearing on mainstream media news. If that's right, then we got nothing to worry about. Trump's out in 2020, like, with ease. No problem whatsoever in vitriol for 4 more years. But now, let's take it a step further. People are liking Donald Trump. 8 years later, or 8 years after the day he takes office, now we're in 2024, and a new Republican is now elected. Mike Pence, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, whomever it may be. Let's just throw it along with the idea of the semi-career politician. The people who were normally the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. So now we have a new Republican president in 2024. Does the vitriol stop? Or is this the new way the two parties are set up? Can we look forward to just a complete blockading of the process? A complete disregard, disrespect, and constant 24-hour-a-day attack on the president? Now, what do you think? Do you think that's the case? Or do you think if we have somebody that it goes at least somewhat back to when the Bushes were in office, or when Ronald Reagan was there, where Democrats were still Democrats and liberals were still liberals and they still disliked it, but, hey, whatever, we lost. He's the president. Hopefully we'll get it next time. What do you think? Or do you think that that's just the way it is now?
I think a lot of it's going to depend on just how much the Republican Party has been morphed by Donald Trump. If the party sticks to the Trumpian policy, then this isn't something that's going to go away. And right now, it seems like that's certainly the direction that the Republican Party is going. It seems like it's going the way of Donald Trump, which isn't surprising. He's the president. He's a Republican president. Looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, no, I find that strange, because I know that people like to rip on Trump because he's so boisterous and obnoxious. I don't think obnoxious is an unfair word
for Donald Trump.
Yeah, even if I know you would be on board with me saying probably much worse than that, but I would think that even most Trump fans would at least acknowledge that he is obnoxious.
Oh, he's incredibly obnoxious.
Yeah, so I can understand the disregard for his obnoxious behavior, but I find it strange when Donald Trump is, just on paper, if nothing else, and what he's done, is the most progressive Republican president since Richard Nixon. he's the most liberal, classically liberal. That's a word that's taken, or a phrase that's taken a new meaning, so I won't say that. But he is. Well, let's use this. He's the most left-wing Republican we've had, arguably, ever in the history of the United States of America. So that's where I kind of have problems with this. I understand disliking the guy. I dislike him too. But to say that the Republican Party is taking a turn towards that, I mean, he's obnoxious because he's an obnoxious person. The next person who's elected, Republican or Democrat, maybe will be or maybe won't be obnoxious. You can almost bet they won't be as obnoxious as Donald Trump. Although, if it's Kanye West or The Rock,
let me ask you a question, Josh. How, in your eyes, how is he the most left-wing Republican president that we've had?
Because he's for a bigger government.
Okay.
He's well, let's go with the two things you brought up on education, healthcare. He's actually pretty left-wing on these things. The left views him as not left-wing because he's so obnoxious about it. Because he blames the Democrats for everything. Because he talks about, the Democrats destroyed our healthcare system. But then his views on healthcare are to the left of the vast majority of Republicans. They're nowhere near, that of a libertarian or a right-winger. And even his views on, gun control. Now, granted, we have school shootings, and he says obnoxious things. And he says dumb things. And he says, well, we'll arm the teachers. I mean, but that's dumb vitriol. Those are tweets. In policy, he then says, well, yeah, let's look at some new gun control for this.
Because he doesn't know what he wants to do.
Exactly.
He doesn't know.
But what he's pushing through in policy, and even in ideology, and remove the obnoxiousness from it all, and just look at him on paper. He's not a right-winger.
You know what?
Unless you're just going with the right-wing equals extreme right-wing equals alt-right equals fascist equals Donald Trump is a Nazi.
Okay. Oh.
I mean.
Well, no. You know what? I'm not gonna say he's a Nazi. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm glad you're not, because it's silly.
But you know what, though, Josh? Let's go back to our favorite political graph here.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump is let's instead of east west, let's go north south. Donald Trump is incredibly north on the graph.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think you and I can agree on that.
Yes.
That he is incredibly north.
Explain that a little bit, because I'm not saying our listeners are dumb, but some people aren't quite as familiar with the graph thing.
Okay. Most people are very familiar with the left-right political spectrum. Obviously, the left is going to be, the further left you get, the more liberal you get. The further right you get, the more conservative you will get.
Maybe progressive would be a better term than liberal, just because of the debate over classical liberal
yes.
and modern liberal.
Yes, and under most political spectrums, you're going to see a hammer and sickle on the far left, and you're going to see a swastika on the far right. Okay, technically speaking, that is correct. However, there is more to the political spectrum than just left-right. There is also a north-south. And this is where I think people get vastly confused in terms of when somebody says they are completely far-right, you automatically assume, okay, well, you must be a Nazi then because you're far-right. Or if you are far left, oh, well, you must be Stalin then. You must be a big supporter of Stalin. Maybe, but the further north you get, the more totalitarian you get in your viewpoints. So Nazism is Nazism is probably going to be, let's just say fascism. Fascism.
I was going to say, you actually should be using fascism instead of Nazis.
Yeah,
Nazis actually aren't fascists.
Nazism, I don't quite know exactly what
stands for National Socialism, which should, basically.
But they were socialists in some sense, but they were also fascists in some sense.
Right, but you know, Hirohito and Mussolini would be offended if you called Hitler a fascist, because he wasn't. He was a Nazi. He made his own party because he was crazy and goofy and
exactly. But fascism are going to be on the far right, up top. So the upper right in the political spectrum in this on this graph. Northeast. Yep. And Stalin is going to be northwest.
Right.
And we talked about anarcho-capitalism, anarcho-communism. Anarcho-communism is going to be southeast or southwest. Anarcho-capitalism is going to be southeast.
Right.
So you can be far right, but totally against fascism.
And as we discussed on our Politics of the Empire show, and I think you and I kind of partially agreed on this, is that, like you said, so many people concentrate on the right-left. I personally find the north-south, the totalitarian and libertarian sections to be far more important. Or I guess if I'm using libertarian, I should say populist and libertarian sides to be far more important than the right left. Because quite frankly, most people, especially you're talking the United States and Europe, when they're right left, most of them are moderates, and if they truly were just basic right left people, there'd probably be plenty of compromises out there. There really would.
Yeah, I am on the left. I mean, I'm probably further left than whatever, but I am no fan of Joseph Stalin. I am no fan of Fidel Castro.
Right. And where the fallacy lies, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Adam, where the fallacy lies between you're far right, so that means you're Hitler. You're far left, so that means you're Stalin. Now, listen, fascism and communism are both, they are fringe things, they are radical things, but they are both legitimate ideologies.
Yes.
Stalin and Hitler, aside from all the people that died in World War II, Stalin and Hitler murdered a total of 16 million people between each other. There is actually nothing on paper fascism or paper communism that talks about murdering peasants. There's actually nothing in either of those things that talks about that. Now you have to become a murderer. Joseph Stalin wasn't evil because he was a communist. He was wrong because he was a communist. Adolf Hitler wasn't evil because he was a fascist. He was wrong because he was a fascist. They were evil because they were murderers. They were totalitarian murderers who ripped liberty, what little liberty the people in their countries had, and they murdered anyone that disagreed with them. Hitler had his, insane eugenics ideas. Stalin just didn't like anyone that disagreed with him, basically. So these are the things. So then when people are, instantly compare somebody to Hitler or compare somebody to Stalin, it's like, okay, Stalin killed 10 million people. If the person hasn't killed, like 10 people at least, then they really have no business being compared to Stalin. So, with Hitler, if you haven't even killed 6 people, then why are you comparing him to somebody that killed 6 million? That's silly.
And the thing that, and I know we kind of got off track here, but to kind of round this back to Donald Trump, though, is that I think you're right. I think there are a lot of left-leaning tendencies that Donald Trump has. However, it's not left in the sense that it's the bad left. It's the upper north. It's the far north left that Donald Trump is talking about. Because you're right. I will say this, and he said it in his campaign speech before. I believe it was his convention speech, where he said, "I alone," and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "I alone can fix America's problems." Would Ronald Reagan go up there and say, "I alone can fix these problems"?
No. No, absolutely.
I don't even know if Hillary Clinton or Obama would have went up there and said, "I alone could fix these problems." In fact, I know they probably wouldn't do that.
Well, put it this way: Obama said some things that I disagreed with that were similar to that. He said it a hell of a lot more eloquently, though, so it was hard to pinpoint those things that Obama said. Now, I was going to ask you something about Obama too, Adam, because is part of this now the Republicans were not as hard on Obama as the Democrats are being on Trump, but they were hard on Obama. Now, is part of this that the Republicans were too hard on Obama, so now the Democrats have to be too hard on Trump? And if that's the case, is it going to be a question of when a Democrat gets elected next time, is it going to be they're too hard on him?
I see what you're saying.
You know, and like, is it just they always have to outdo each other? Then like, oh, I remember that time you said this about Obama, so I'm gonna say something 3 times more vile about your guy.
Josh, I don't know. All bets are off when it comes to this because we've never seen. I don't think we've ever seen anything. I mean, you're more of a presidential, expert in terms of history than I am. Offhand, for me, I don't think the nation has ever seen anything like a President Donald Trump before. I mean, what is the closest thing we've ever had? I mean, is in more modern history? I mean, Richard Nixon. I mean, is that something that's more?
So. I would say so, but with Nixon
was also a statesman, though, too.
Right. And the thing is with Nixon too is that if it was just the Democrats who were against Nixon, he probably wouldn't have resigned. But the Republicans said, oh, they defended him. Then it came out, no, he said he's not a crook. He said he's legit. Then it comes out that he wasn't, and the Republicans said, yeah, this guy's a crook. Yeah, we gave you a crook. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, America.
Mm-hmm.
And he resigned. Truth is, and hey, I am not a fan of Richard Nixon's politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it has to be for hindsight because I wasn't born yet. Neither one of us were born when that was going on. I'm not a fan of that kind of politics at all. He was a very big government guy, and that's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But truth is, when you analyze Richard Nixon's presidency against other presidents, before, after, long before, short before, it was actually a fairly successful presidency. He did crooked things, and he was ousted for it. Arguably one of the best foreign policy presidents of the 20th century, though, was Richard Nixon. What he did in China, and what he did, in the Middle East and other places. I mean, his foreign policy record, quite frankly, is top notch. And again, this is coming from somebody that, I knew he was a crook from the day I was born. I mean, he had been resigned for years, when I was born in 1980. But it's, when you look back, I mean, God, he didn't do the things he did weren't all terrible. And with the benefit of hindsight, we can say, no, that stuff actually worked, But has Trump done anything that's truly crooked? I don't know. Some would say yes.
I would most certainly say, yeah. I mean, go ahead, finish it.
And I don't know that anything's proven. His supporters would say, no, he's great. He's, clean as a whistle. And I know he's rude, but we didn't elect him to be nice. We elected him to, to kick butt. Or whatever it is that people are saying. So I look at all this kind of saying, if the Republicans are right, because they're both sides are so extreme right now. If the Trump fans, I won't even say Republicans and Democrats, because that's lumping in a whole bunch of people that are just kind of along for the ride in a lot of this. Mm-hmm. But if the Trump fans are right, well, then we're going to have this amazing economy, and things are going to be so much better for everybody. And even though Trump's kind of a jerk, in a few years we'll all just have to acknowledge that, hey, you can disagree with him all you want. You can hate his tweets all you want, but look at all the great things that have happened to America. It's a better place, and you have to give some sort of credit. And if his opposers are correct, well then, God, when does the revolution start? You know, I mean, when do we take up arms against this terrible, terrible man?
Well, apparently
who's running our country into the ground?
There's supposed to be a democratic civil war on the 4th of July, according to Alex Jones. Who
is an Illuminati shill.
Josh, and
do you know what I'm saying? Do you kind of like follow him? Like, I mean, if he's as bad as the people say, then, God, when does the rebellion start?
Yeah, all bets are off. I mean, I said this to you several weeks ago. We talked about this on the way over here one night, that I could see Donald Trump getting elected again.
Mm-hmm. I could too.
I mean, who's to say he can't? He was. I remember sitting here, over the summer in 2016, and it was you, Nick, and I. Mm-hmm. And I remember Nick was sitting here saying that.
Were we still the Majors Live then, or were we?
No, I think we're X. Yeah, we're X guys. And Nick was saying Donald Trump's going to be elected. I remember sitting here saying, "Like, you're nuts."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
He's not going to get elected. This guy is a lunatic. What happened that night? We were here again.
Yeah.
It was disappointing. I remember feeling sick to my stomach that night, thinking that this reality TV show host who just spewed this asinine rhetoric throughout his entire campaign is going to be president of the United States. Mm-hmm. It was sickening. It was absolutely sickening. And I mean, was it due to the fact that the Democrats put forth just an awful candidate? Yeah. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But if Donald Trump could do it once, you can't sit back and think that he can't do it again.
Yeah.
If Democrats go into the next election thinking that Donald Trump can't do it again, get ready for 4 more years of Donald Trump.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. You know, I something just kind of popped into my head about this earlier today. Mm-hmm. That I was thinking, I always thought that Obama was a very polarizing president, with some of his rhetoric and more of his policy than his rhetoric. But I feel like Barack Obama polarized our nation, and now Donald Trump has polarized our people, which is much worse. I mean, and, maybe you can't have one without the other, but, there's plenty of people out there who just think Obama was awesome, and they just love his policy and thought it was great, and that's okay. I mean, you got your and there's tons of people out there right now who just think Donald Trump's awesome. But my thing is, if the nation is in such a polarized disarray from everything, then you can't be a good president. You're not a good president if this is what's going on. And I just don't understand when somebody's going to throw out an olive branch somehow or another, for the good of the country.
It seems like Donald Trump constantly steps in his own message all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
hard to tell what his message even is.
It is. Josh, you remember when we had that, I don't want to say you remember, because it happened 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. There was the shooting in at the Capital Gazette, that newspaper in Baltimore. Gunman goes in, shoots up the newsroom. I believe there's 5 people that were killed. Yeah. 4 journalists and 1 staffer there. Had nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Mhm.
I mean, the guy didn't go in there because he was inspired. Well, at least it doesn't sound like it. Like he was inspired by Donald Trump's words and went in there and wanted to take revenge on the media. I mean, he was taking revenge on the media, but it was for personal reasons.
Totally personal. He's taking revenge at his particular workplace. I think it's even a bit. It
was. They wrote a
Right.
they wrote a story about I think about him, and he took him to court, and just the resentment towards towards them grew and grew and grew, and he yeah.
You're right, though. It was personal. It wasn't really.
It wasn't
ideological.
Well, it wasn't ideological. It wasn't political or anything like that. So, Donald Trump, what was he saying prior to that? The news media is the enemy of the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you say. A free press is part of the Constitution. Am I correct?
Absolutely, First Amendment.
First Amendment. Donald Trump.
There is a reason, people out there listening, by the way. It's not all of the amendments are important, or all the Bill of Rights especially are important, but they actually did put them in order of like kind of what they thought was important.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they talk about the First and the Second Amendment being like really important, there are a reason why they put them first too, and there's a reason why number one is number one.
Yeah. And
freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion.
Yeah.
Boom. They're all covered at number one, and it's very, very, very important.
Yeah, and Donald Trump was just saying all the way up to that. Press is the enemy of the people. Media is the enemy of the people. Dangerous words coming from the most powerful man in the world. He backtracks it. He backtracks it when that happens. Goes out and says, our hearts and our thoughts and prayers go out, to the families. Mm-hmm. What does he do just days later? He goes back to saying the same thing.
Right.
That the news media is the enemy of the American people. I don't understand that. He is, I mean, what are you doing? How does, and I don't want to, I know why it happens, because Donald Trump, he gets caught up in his own rhetoric. He continues to say what he thinks his people want him to say. And he goes with it. And I don't know.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that, Adam. I cannot disagree with that.
Again, I don't think that's something that we would see from, I mean, looking on the other side of the aisle from me, I can't say that's something that we would see with either Bushes.
No, certainly not.
I can't say that's something that we would see with Ronald Reagan. No. And those are the only Republicans. Or Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
I was going to say those are the only Republican presidents that were in my lifetime, but yeah. I can't see that happening. Right. Unfortunately, that's what is happening nowadays. And just one other thing, Josh. I came across this video today, and it was something that has gone viral. And people might say I'm pulling the race card on this one, and go ahead and have your opinions, people. If you want to say that I'm pulling the race card, then whatever. I'm pulling the race card if that's what you want to think. This happened, I believe, in suburban Chicago. A young lady was having, I believe it was a 4th of July picnic. And she was wearing a shirt that had the flag of Puerto Rico on it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this older gentleman comes up to her, starts getting in her face. Why are you wearing that shirt? Are you from this country? You don't wear this shirt here. Go back to where you came from. So on and so forth. I mean, again, that could happen, it could have happened in 2009 as, as much as it could have happened now. But to me, I'm thinking to myself, are some of these instances where we have just uninformed pieces of shit like that, because that guy is not only completely and utterly bigoted, but he is also incredibly stupid. I know that goes hand in hand because Puerto Ricans are just as American as you and I, Josh.
Yeah, Puerto Ricans are American citizens, and actually, like, wearing the Puerto Rican flag on Independence Day is not unpatriotic at all.
No, it's not.
It's actually like wearing the flag of Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Or
Texas, or
Michigan, or New York, or wherever.
Yep. Or America. If you're wearing a flag of American Samoa.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of part of it.
I'm just thinking to myself. I mean, are some of these people are they becoming more emboldened?
Maybe
by just.
Are they becoming more emboldened, or is it being covered more? I mean, she says, since when is some asshole went up to a person at a picnic like news? Like a jerk said something rude at a picnic. News at 11. I know.
I know what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah,
and that's
guy's a dope. Guy's a dope.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a moron. Totally. I mean, he obviously doesn't get what he's even talking about.
No, he doesn't, and that's why I said, that very well could have happened in 2009, as it's happened now.
Right.
But you just hear some of the stuff that Donald Trump has said, and you compare it to a lot of the stuff that you're hearing in instances such as that. Now, Donald Trump isn't going out there and, telling people that, he's not going up to American citizens and telling them to go back to their own country.
No,
he's not doing that. But a lot of people will say that there are those dog whistles out there that, take for instance today. Today was the deadline for the administration to reunite the families, the little kids under 5 years old who were separated from their parents at the border. It didn't happen. So what was Donald Trump's response to, children 5 years and younger being separated from their parents? Well, maybe they shouldn't come here illegally. I mean, is that something that you say right here and now when there are still infants, 2-year-olds, toddlers separated from their moms and dads who, quite frankly, may never see them again? Is that something that you say out in public? And it's stuff like that emboldens, that in some ways legitimizes just that total, douchebaggery, thought processes that some of these people get.
Yeah.
And it's really quite, it's really very, very sad.
There's something to be said, and Trump fans would disagree with this. A lot of Trump fans would disagree with this, but there's something to be said for talking like a politician.
Yes, you're right.
For being able to sugarcoat things, to be able to acknowledge that there are some people that disagree with you in the statement you're about to make, but to make said statement in the right way. That does not exist with Donald Trump.
No, you've said it before, Josh. You said, why does he have to be such an asshole?
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. I mean that. Because I'm not even going to say I disagree with everything he's ever said or done. I'm not going to say that, people constantly, they know I'm against Trump, so they send me lists of his accomplishments. It's like, yeah, some of them might be good, I guess, Most of them are economic things, and as a small government person, I prefer my presidents to stay out of the economy. But I'm not going to act like something, I'm not going to pretend like a good policy that had a good result isn't good in some way. I'm not going to do that.
Let me say that the income tax rollback. For you, I know what you're saying. Oh, yeah, that's great. Why don't you just get rid of all income tax?
Right. I mean, I don't want government involvement in the economy, so So I kind of have to, oppose most of this stuff. But I mean, when things work, they work. They're working within a system that I dislike. So it's, I should acknowledge that it's the system I dislike, not the person doing it.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I feel like is very important. You were talking about how, the North-South compared to the left-right.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people in this country, even, I find this talking to other libertarians, by the way, even feel this way. So many people in the United States of America think that there's a problem, there's an issue, there's a discussion, and that there are two answers. One they agree with, one they disagree with. And it's always the Republican answer and the Democrat answer. Personally, half the time, a good portion of the time, I look at these things and I think they're both wrong. I think the Republicans and Democrats are both wrong on a lot of key issues. I don't side with either one of them. But I feel like so many people don't even think that that third or fourth or fifth option even exists because there isn't a party selling it to them. And I feel like that's one of the biggest crimes is that, people who think they're intelligent and well-read on a subject, you didn't look outside the box at all.
And it's sad too.
You think you're looking outside the box because you're a Republican and you're not being sold by that Democrat bullshit. No, I look outside the box all the time. I don't let the Republicans tell me what to think. I'm over here with the Democrats, the only smart ones. It's like, no, really, good portion of the time they're actually both wrong. They really are. I just wish people would see that,
No,
or at least acknowledge, even if they think one side is right, you can still think one of the sides is right. But you should acknowledge that there might actually be a third alternative.
No, I certainly see what you're saying, Josh, because it drives me nuts on the left too when I see, some people on the left who are supposedly all about liberty and freedom.
Yeah.
They're sitting there, talking about American imperialism, which is fine. I don't think the United States should be invading other countries, but they'll sit there and start propping up, the leaders in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Or they might start propping up, Kim Jong-un.
Castro family.
Yeah. And no. That's not something that you want to get behind as somebody who I know what they want. I know what they're trying to get at, but it's completely misguided.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. There's nothing good about the leadership in Venezuela. There's nothing good about the leadership in North Korea. There's nothing good about the leadership in, the Castro family in Cuba.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about that whatsoever. Just like there's nothing good about Northeast politics as well. There's nothing good about that. It's bad. Just about every aspect of it is bad.
Right.
Just like every aspect of Northwest politics is bad.
Right.
It's not good. If you like freedom and if you like liberty, then that stuff is bad.
Right.
Whether it's the right or the left, it's bad.
Right. If the boot is on your throat, it doesn't matter if it's the left boot or the right boot.
It's still a boot, and it's still at your throat.
It is still pinning you down and holding you down. This is the problem. And hey, that's the differing opinions is good. It's what makes us right. Just acknowledge that there are more than just those two opinions. You know,
Mhm.
as one of my favorite Democrats once said, Dennis Kucinich, the American eagle doesn't fly without its right wing and its left wing. It's very important for, you know, people to have differing opinions. Just, you don't have to be a populist to, you know, have a conservative and or a liberal belief. You know, it doesn't matter. We've said on this show many times in the past, and we're running long already, but we've said before on this show, you know, so many people like to view themselves as well read, and they, you know, they've really examined all the options, and they're not for one party more than the other. They just, you know, tend to go with certain things, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually nothing wrong even with just saying, like, hey, I agree with the Republicans a lot more than the Democrats, so I vote Republican. You know, doesn't mean I love them, but hey, it's a two-party system, and, you know, I'm a one-issue person, and the Democrats agree with me on my one issue, so boom, I vote for them. But why is it that somebody who opposes abortion must also oppose gun control? Why is it that someone who really wants universal health care has to oppose the death penalty? What the hell do those things have in common? Other than,
They're talking points.
yeah, then time to admit it, everybody. You're on one side or the other.
Just that Tommy Lauren got fired from the Blaze War.
Yeah.
She came out and said that she's
right
against.
She was for certain things and against other things.
She was pro-choice.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Yeah.
You
I
see
mean,
what I'm saying.
and I know that there are a handful of politicians out there, but typically they're known as Christina Todd Whitman was, what was she known as? She was the pro-life Republican.
Mhm.
You know, what was, well, actually, kind of funny, but I mean, before, he kind of, well, no, he actually didn't change it. He changed on a few things, but Al Gore was kind of famous as a senator as being the pro-death penalty Democrat. You know, I mean, that was what he was famous for until he then became vice president. And
seems like you saw much more of that, you know, as far as Democrats more so being more pro.
Majority of Americans do favor the death penalty, and I want to say it's, you know, a good 40% of Democrats in most polls actually support the death penalty.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, 40% of Democrats, that's a huge number. When,
and I'm sure,
when they're only half the country and about 75% Republicans.
Yeah, and I'm sure the numbers are higher too, in, you know, death penalty states.
Sure,
so.
sure.
But that's what you get sometimes too. I mean, a lot of the times you are forced to vote with your constituents, as opposed to voting for your own personal opinions or beliefs.
Voting with your constituents to keep your job is something I can tolerate. Voting with your party to keep your job is something I can't tolerate.
Well, that's
because then the will of the people is lost.
Well, I think that's a good segue here into our next topic, which is the Supreme Court.
Right. And we could probably do it somewhat quick, perhaps. But let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, but Brett Kavanaugh was nominated by Donald Trump last night to replace Anthony Kennedy, who is going to be retiring at the end of this month. Actually, I believe it July 31st is going to be his final day. I think everybody saw this coming. I think Anthony Kennedy is 81 years old. Nominated, I believe, by H.W. Bush.
Wasn't Reagan?
I don't think it was Reagan. I think it was
Reagan.
I think it was H.W. Bush.
Was it? Okay.
But what Anthony Kennedy is most known for is being it's
the swing vote.
The swing vote. You never knew which way he was going to go. Some days he sides with the left, some days he sides with the right. despite who he was nominated by. He was nominated by a Republican president, whether it was Reagan or whether it was
right. Oh, for sure.
or whether it was the first Bush. But
you know what's funny about Kennedy too? Like in his defense, I'm not even a huge fan of his, but in his defense, they always play it off as like oh, you never know. Sometimes he votes with the Republicans. Sometimes he votes with the Democrats. Which side is he on today? Like, did it ever occur to people that he's actually just interpreting the Constitution the way his job states it's supposed to? That's actually his only job, is to actually look at cases and then interpret the Constitution and how the Constitution would cover said court case. That's his job. It actually has nothing to do with, am I going to side with the Republicans or side with the Democrats?
Dorff always said that Anthony Kennedy was the most powerful man in the country because a lot of things always came down to
that argument could be made.
Which way he was going to go.
Yeah,
on a case by case basis. So yeah, I mean, some certain circumstances, yeah, he probably was the most powerful man in the country. So yeah, Brett Kavanaugh, conservative, staunch conservative, big conservative when it comes to Roe v. Wade, conservative when it comes to the Second Amendment, and he was a George W. Bush guy. I believe he was first appointed by George W. Bush as a federal judge, and obviously one of 4 final candidates, I believe, when it came down to this final pick. And it's going to be a contentious one. From what I hear, not the most conservative jurist that Donald Trump could have picked.
He's actually not very far right on Roe v. Wade. Actually, but I don't see a overturning or anything.
But you can tell. You can certainly see the direction. You could certainly see that this maybe wasn't more so a Donald Trump pick, but a Mitch McConnell pick, because Mitch McConnell came out and said before that one of Donald Trump's selection, it wasn't Kavanaugh, I can't remember which one it was. It may have been the woman from Notre Dame. Yeah. But it was McConnell that said he couldn't see that passing through the Senate. So what do we get? We get a Bush appointee as the nomination who is going to appeal more so to what we have in the Senate right now. Very straight line. They can go back to their, I don't want to say their grassroots, but kind of I don't even want to say the establishment, but Republicanism that we've seen for the most part the past 50 years. But it's going to be contentious still.
Yeah,
it's going to be very contentious. I mean,
I hope. Now you're going to maybe not, guess my reasoning. Perhaps I hope that this man is very conservative. My reason being that I know a whole bunch of people that voted for Donald Trump only because of the Supreme Court. Said, I don't like the guy, but I can't have Hillary Clinton picking my Supreme Court justices. And they chose Donald Trump for that reason. I found it to be folly because, well, that's not a reason why I'd vote for somebody necessarily. But a lot of people did. It's a legitimate reason to vote for someone. And considering how many hundreds of thousands, perhaps, of people, or at least tens of thousands of people voted for him in that way, they deserve to have that come to fruition. This is part of the democratic system. This is part of the Constitution. And quite frankly, Republicans, Democrats, it drives me crazy with the way they have made a mockery of the Constitution when it comes to Supreme Court justices. It drives me nuts. Quite frankly, it says it very plainly in the Constitution that it's a lifetime appointment. I know they let them retire now, but they play with the retirements. You know, they play with the retirements. They retire when the president they want to pick their successor is in there. They play with it all the time, and it's to me it's bullshit. And then congressmen who are supposed to decide simply whether or not the person is capable of upholding the duty, they play with it and block nominations and support nominations and block one so you can get somebody that's not quite as, you know, they play with it. And quite frankly, the politics that are played with the Supreme Court now, it drives me crazy, and it makes me fairly apathetic to the system, you know, to tell you the truth. Like, I just feel like, you know what, they're making a mockery of it, and it's stupid.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg's going to be there for as long as she possibly can.
She will. And if Anthony Kennedy, you know, he's going to say, oh, I can no longer fulfill the duties, I'm too old, I need to retire. Okay, you're saying retirement when you took a position that says it's lifetime. Okay. But, of course, if Hillary Clinton won, he wouldn't retire. You know, he wouldn't have retired. Ruth Bader Ginsburg would be retiring right now instead. They're the same age, roughly. I don't even know how old. They're both older than dirt. And they would, you know, it's silly.
Is there anything in the Constitution? I mean, what happens if, like, say they get Alzheimer's, they get dementia? I mean,
in my personal opinion, now they have ruled that it is okay for them to step down, you know, and they pretty much say, yeah, you can step down wherever you want. I mean, Sandra Day O'Connor is still like out there on the news circuit, you know, and she's retired, which I think is crap. I mean, she can obviously be, but in my personal direct interpretation of the Constitution, to me, if you have Alzheimer's and you can't do it, then you should recuse yourself from every case if necessary. But you should still be in that position until the day you die. That is truly what I think. You know, if you know your doctor says, "Hey, you have Alzheimer's," then that should be kept your own business, and you should just simply recuse yourself from every case. And when the luck of the draw or unluck of the draw befalls you and you do eventually pass away, then you should be replaced.
I'm wondering though if
whoever happens to be president, and if that person is qualified for the job under the tenets of the Constitution, then they should be approved.
I think what would probably happen though is like they just wouldn't cast a vote.
That's what recusing yourself is.
Well, like I don't think they'd just be recusing themselves. I don't think they'd have the capacity just to show up, so they would be kind of like what John McCain is doing right now.
Right.
You know, where he's part of the Senate, but he obviously can't be there because he's he's sick.
Right.
So he's not going to cast.
And it is the same thing roughly, but you do just kind of have to say, whether you recuse yourself by not even showing up to the meeting, or whether you stay there and write an opinion and recuse yourself that way. It's I guess you're still recusing yourself, but yeah, that's like a hard line stance. I realize like what I said is a hard line stance, but you're talking about the Supreme Court of the United States. Hard line stances are what they're about. Mm-hmm. I mean, their job's to interpret the Constitution, yet they think they can retire from the job whenever the hell they want. Where'd they read that? I mean, seriously, where'd they read that? It's right in there.
It's like what's his face? Pope Benedict.
Yeah. Right.
You didn't see John Paul II skipping out early.
No, there's nothing there. I've actually heard people say when talking about the kings and queens of England, oh, do you think Prince Charles will ever be king, or do you think he'll just abdicate and let William if he wants to break all the rules, I guess, but Like, but no, of course he'll be king.
You know what? If I was Prince Charles, the second that my mom, I'm going to be having the most obnoxious coronation that England has ever seen.
I hope he does. I'm going to see how much of this family's money I can spend.
Yep. Oh my god, it's going to be the most pomp and circumstance you've ever seen in your entire life.
It's like I'm a 70-year-old man and they call me Prince. It sounds cool, but it's not. No, I just,
I hope he does too. I hope
I
hope he has the most obnoxious, over the top coronation that you've ever seen.
Yeah, and I hope all the haters complain about it like they do at the weddings and talk about how it's like, oh, they're spending the taxpayer dollars. It's like, they are not. They are not, you dopes. It's not spending taxpayer dollars. It's spending their dollars, their family money. And by the way, like every single thing they do brings in like enough tourism to like fund England for like 6 months. So it's really silly to even say that. But, yeah, whatever. But hey, do we have a news section?
We do, and I guess for me on this pick, obviously I don't like it. I mean, I want to see. I want to see a.
You want Donald Trump to appoint a bleeding heart liberal?
Yes, I do.
Not gonna happen,
yes,
so.
I do. I want to see. Sotomayor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, part 2 or 3, whatever it is you want to call it.
That's because you're just like Joseph Stalin.
But I mean, obviously, liberals aren't going to like it. Conservatives,
they're not
are going
supposed
to
to.
love it. What's going to be funny about this, though, and I'm going to and Anna Navarro pointed this out. Was it's going to be Trumpkins defending Trump's pick, who was originally a Bush appointee. That's
right.
That's kind of the ironic thing about all of this was,
Well, I think, you mentioned Mitch McConnell, and I do believe that this is how Trump got a lot of Republicans on his side. And this is something where, you can bet the Republicans are going to make this pick, or he's going to lose that support too.
Well, he has to.
Yeah.
I mean, you need your own party support if you're going to get anything done, and if you want to have your job again once elections come around, once presidential elections come around. If you're not, if you especially this time, if you don't have your own party behind you, you're not going to win, and that's something that you can safely say. Whether it's Donald Trump or anybody else, if you don't have your party support, then you're not going to win. And that's just
and hey, another hard truth too, Adam. And I know that you know this, but if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, newsflash, everybody, if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, you're not supposed to like his Supreme Court justice nominee. Really, you're not supposed to. That's kind of the system. That's why we vote for president, and that's why we give this one person that power. You're not supposed to like it. So
unless you're a red state moderate Democrat who is up for re-election.
I mean, just really I don't like this pick. Like, you're not supposed to. Seriously, you aren't supposed to like the pick. So just toughen up, man. I mean, just like when Obama was appointing people or Bill Clinton was appointing people, and if you're a Republican, you're not supposed to like the pick. Quit complaining. You should have. Too bad your guy didn't win. He didn't. Tough crap.
I wanted to bring this up to you, Josh, earlier, but did you hear? And this is going to our news section.
Are we officially going around?
Yeah,
with Adam?
Yeah. Did you hear that Billy D. Williams is going to be the next Star Wars movie? Yes.
No, I did not.
He's going to be reprising the Lando Calrissian.
So they'll probably kill him.
You know what? And again, I was thinking about this too, and I was like, again, another way that Star Wars totally fucked up this new trilogy was, okay, you're now literally bringing back everybody at some point. You obviously had the chance to have Solo, Leia, Luke, and Lando
and
Chewie all in the same movie.
One goddamn scene.
And
that's all us nerds asked for.
And you didn't do it.
Right. That's all we asked for was one GD scene with the Star Wars people
and
in
it didn't happen. You know what? And a lot of people are going to be happy about this Lando thing, and it is. It's good, and it's good to a certain extent. But Josh, as a Star Wars aficionado like yourself, is this kind of rubbing salt on an open wound for you?
Kind of. But I will say this: I did not like Force Awakens. I wasn't crazy about Last Jedi. More so, I didn't like Last Jedi because I just don't like what they've done with the saga. But them saying that Lando Calrissian is going to be in this movie, well, you got me on opening night once again. I mean, you did. It works.
Dude,
it works.
Josh, if Jar Jar was playing the lead role, they would have gotten you on opening night.
You know, I was debating whether or not it was going to be an opening night thing for me or like I'm still going to see like opening week. Don't get me wrong.
You would have been there opening night.
Probably, but it's just, I don't know.
It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, great, you're doing that, but you're a little late.
I saw a really bad photoshopped meme the other day. It really was like a bad job too, but I didn't care on the photoshopping. But all it was it was pictures of Han, Luke, and Leia now, from the recent movies, but it was just those three photoshopped into the Millennium Falcon, and it just said, what I actually wanted from the sequel trilogy. It was just one shot
of all of them,
of the three of them, sitting in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. They could have said anything. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, guys? It's like, that's all we wanted.
Were they trying to get those things that chew on the cables off the?
Yeah, Minox. Yeah, that's all we wanted. But when I saw the picture, I was just like, oh, Chewie and Lando should be in there too. And C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah,
like they brought them all back, but yeah, like really, you're not going to give us one scene.
Never tell me the odds.
Yep. I'm not kidding, man.
It's disappointing.
It is disappointing.
It's very, very disappointing that they wouldn't do that.
And now, and then the Star Wars stories were so cool, but now since they didn't make a gazillion dollars on the first night, they're gonna put those on hold. It's like oh, I guess you were gonna release a Star Wars movie every single year, but if they didn't continually make more money than the last one, then you're just just gonna stop making them.
Didn't they halt the? I was gonna say.
Yeah, they halted them because Solo didn't make enough money. And not like it made no money. It still made a whole buttload of money.
Yeah, it still made a lot of money, but it just wasn't successful.
It's not even part of one of the trilogies. It's just a cool little side movie, and you released it the same month as Infinity War. You dopes! How many times do you think people go to the movies a month?
Well, that's what that's what happens too. I mean,
right.
it's summer movie season. That's.
Right.
I mean, release it in Christmas. Release it, if you want to have a huge,
Or just release it, and maybe they won't all make $1 zillion, and then you'll make up your zillion and
merchandise
and DVD sales and everything else later. It's like you're gonna lose money on Solo, a Star Wars story.
No, you're right.
They're gonna make money. They just I don't know. It's silly to me.
Yeah,
they're dumb. They're all dumb.
Going back to Donald Trump, remember those Oregon, those guys in Oregon that took over that government building?
Yeah.
I think it was in 2012.
Was that long ago?
Yeah, resulted in 5-year sentences for those two guys, Dwight and Stephen Hammond. Well, they were pardoned today. By Donald Trump. According to NPR, the conviction came in the wake of the 1996 anti-terrorism laws that impose mandatory minimums for arson or use of explosive against public property. And like I said, today, Donald Trump pardoned those Oregon cattle ranchers.
But with their 5 years, it's probably up, right?
Yeah.
So they already served their 5 years.
But I think it's a pardon it's taken off your record.
Though. Yeah, no, that's cool, but it's they still had to serve all the time, and then they get pardoned. It's you don't turn that down, but it's oh, if you thought I was so nice, why didn't you, pardon me and get me out of jail 2 years ago?
I don't know how you feel about this, Josh, but it's very, very newsworthy. Kylie Jenner reveals that she's gotten rid of her lip fillers. The 20-year-old model shared that she is no longer using lip fillers after fans had noticed that her signature lips
Oh,
looked a little bit different in a
Correct.
recent
No,
photo.
what? I thought you were talking about Bruce Jenner's new name.
No.
I really did. Okay, you're talking about his daughter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Her daughter.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so she's not using lip fillers.
She's not using lip fillers
Okay.
anymore.
Okay.
Well, how does that make you feel?
I didn't know she used lip fillers.
No.
No.
All right. One of the
I don't even know which one that is. I'm not gonna lie.
Kylie Jenner.
Yeah,
she is the.
She's one of the Kardashians, right?
She's one of the
she's
young.
not a Kardashian.
Yeah, she's one of the younger ones.
Okay.
I don't know if she's the youngest one, but she is one of the two younger daughters.
Okay, so I'm guessing by her last name that was actually like Bruce Jenner is her actual dad, not part of the Kardashian family that he.
Yes,
you know.
yes. Robert
Kim Kardashian was his stepdaughter.
Robert Kardashian is not her dad.
Okay. Bruce
Jenner is her dad. Yeah. Or was her dad.
Yeah, because now he's not Bruce Jenner.
Or now he's Caitlyn. Yeah, or now she's Caitlyn.
Just call her Kate.
Yeah, Kylie Jenner. Whatever. I can't stand the Kardashians.
Yeah, neither can I. That's why I truly don't know. I do not know which one is which. Or
France today punched their ticket to the World Cup finals. I know, Josh, you are all about that. They beat Belgium today 1-0. Tomorrow.
They beat Uruguay before that, right? I was bummed.
France, yes.
Yeah, I like Uruguay.
Uruguay's looking good in the World Cup.
Uruguay. Most libertarian country in the world.
Oh, really? Are they? But tomorrow we have England taking on Croatia, and to figure out who's going to be taking on France in the World Cup final. Personally, I'd love to see a France-England World Cup final, two old school rivals.
Yeah.
I think that's, maybe as old school as you could possibly get as far as rivalries go.
The 100-year war will finally come to an end.
Oh my God! Can you imagine just the? I mean, we think that Michigan, Ohio State is a bad rivalry,
right.
Or an intense rivalry. That's nothing.
Yeah, they should put it all back on this. Like, no, this one's actually for the throne. This one's for the crown. Whoever wins it, like you're back to being the king of both of these countries.
Oh man,
that'd be awesome.
Well, they don't
We
have.
We to discuss this a little bit on the history show. Too.
Well, they don't have. I mean, they don't have obviously a king of France anymore.
No. Well, there is, as Tiffany has mentioned on the best podcast in history. There is still a French royal family. They're not allowed in France though.
Oh yeah,
because they've been exiled, and they're still to this day the French royal family exists, and they've never.
It's like they're still. I mean, technically speaking, isn't there still an Iranian royal family still? I think they live in the United States.
German royal family as well.
Okay, yeah.
German royal. There's actually a Prussian royal family.
Okay.
And that country hasn't existed in, 100 and, 130 years.
When was the German monarch ousted?
Like after World War One.
Okay, so that'd be the most. I mean, well, as far as European countries go, that would be the most recent.
Yeah.
Was it Napoleon? Wasn't he a big fan of George Washington?
Oh yeah, he was. They say, I mean, it's debated, but Napoleon's last words were, "They wanted me to be another Washington."
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he was kind of regretting that. Washington had the chance to be king, but he turned it down. Away, but Napoleon couldn't do it. Couldn't walk away from the power.
Cristiano Ronaldo staying with soccer. His move to Juventus was made official today. I believe it was over $100 million in transfer fees US from him to go from Real Madrid to Juventus, which is one of the more premier clubs, or one of the premier clubs in all of Europe and in Serie A in Italy. So he goes from Spain to Italy. That's how things work in Europe, in European soccer, Josh. Okay. If you didn't know.
Yeah, no, because I know I actually had a discussion about this with somebody a few weeks ago. That I know in like Premier League and stuff, you hear about the the people playing for Spanish team or a English team, and you think that all those people are from England or all those people are from Spain. It's like, no, it's just like somebody playing for the Broncos or the Raiders. They're not
It's
all
actually,
from LA.
you know what? I mean,
know.
putting the game aside, because I know you're not a fan of soccer.
No.
The system though that they go off of is actually very, very interesting because
I agree. It's the game that sucks.
Because I personally like soccer, but you don't. That's fine. But Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, they're all separate leagues, and they all can win their championship. But they all eventually, they all go to the Champions League at the end, and they all end up playing each other for, basically the best team in Europe. Or the
cool.
The champion of Europe.
The sport's so universal, so you can do that.
Yes, it's cool in a sense.
Yeah,
and in their professional leagues, if you suck, you get kicked out of the top league.
Yeah, I love that.
You get regulated down to, the second tier league.
Yeah, no, I love that part. I do love that part.
I
wish they would do that in. Well, quite frankly, in NHL and NBA would be the two that I. There's too many damn teams, and I wish they would do that. I wish it was like two separate.
There's
things. I wish they'd split it in half and do something like that.
You could. Technically speaking, I guess you could do it in. The stadiums aren't big enough. There's stadiums all over Europe, soccer stadiums that, are tier 1 professional level stadiums. Say the Tigers get regulated down to the International League. And the Mud Hens get, promoted to MLB. Yes, Fifth Third Stadium in Toledo is a nice field, but it's not major league capacity. So,
sure.
But it would be interesting to see that. The closest thing we actually have to that here in North America is junior league hockey.
Yeah.
Like the OHL. It's part of a bigger league, which they end up going and playing teams from other leagues across Canada and playing for whatever cup it's called. So I wish we had that here too. It would be very, very interesting to see. Let's see if we have anything else. What's this here? Smucker says so long to the Pillsbury Doughboy. The J.M. Smucker Company is selling brands like Hungry Jack, Pillsbury, and Jim Dandy to a private equity firm for $375 million. So I didn't even know that. I didn't know Smuckers and the Pillsbury Doughboy were one of the same. So
I didn't realize Smuckers, I guess, was that big of a thing. I knew Kraft owns everybody.
Yeah, as long as we're not losing the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah.
The Pillsbury Doughboy, I hope is staying around.
Yeah. No, me too. And I don't think I've ever bought a Pillsbury product in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have. But
I have a Pillsbury product in my cupboard right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I do love the Pillsbury Doughboy though. He's legit. He's a cool dude.
Were you a big fan of Twinkies? Are you?
Yeah, I like Twinkies. I like Twinkies. I'm not, not as crazy about them. I actually I know this is sacrilege to the true Twinkie people. I like some of the other ones, like the chocolate Twinkies and the strawberry Twinkies and stuff.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of those.
Yeah.
I was always a fan of Zingers. You know Zingers?
Yeah, Zingers are awesome.
Zingers are great.
Yeah,
I always like those better than Twinkies.
Oh, me too. Me too.
But yeah, I like Twinkies.
My cousin who used to work with me when they got rid of Twinkies for a while.
Yeah, because Hostess went bankrupt.
Yeah, I thought that man was going to cry.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was heartbroken.
Hey,
he didn't know what to do with himself. And then when they came back, he was just like praising Jesus, my prayer's been answered and Twinkies are back.
Twinkies are Americana, man.
Yeah.
They're Americana. And I loved it. You ever see what was Zombieland?
Yeah.
I love that. When he's, Woody Harrelson's going around trying to find Twinkies, and all of a sudden he comes up on a Hostess truck, opens it up, and it's
all snowballs. Or something.
Oh, I feel your pain, man. Snowballs are fucking gross.
Yeah, they're all right.
I'm not a fan of coconut, though.
Yeah.
I hate coconut.
I don't mind. I'd eat a snowball, but I mean, it's really like if I haven't had one in years and there's a very good chance I will never have one again. You know?
I hate coconut.
Dude,
I don't just not like coconut.
yeah, you hate it.
I hate coconut.
Really.
It's gross.
I don't hate it, but I could do without.
And our last item of the night, probably the biggest news story. Well, certainly the biggest news story of the day. That Thai soccer team, that youth soccer team, all of them were rescued out of that cave today. I believe it was 13 in total. Is it 13 in addition to the coach, the 25-year-old coach?
I don't know.
But incredibly,
they got him out. That's good.
Incredibly remarkable they were able to get him out, considering that they didn't know. I mean, some of them didn't know how to swim, and they had to go in there, put scuba gear on, and scuba out of there, and all of them survived. That is incredibly remarkable that they were able to do that.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, they were they're going on. I mean, hearing some of the stories of what they had to do. I mean, you even had a Thai Navy SEAL actually die. In the process of getting him out, but ferrying back supplies and everything back. I think he was. I don't know if he was bringing air or food to him, but he actually ran out of air himself when he was going through these caverns, and he drowned. But
jeez,
yeah,
that's
and
terrible. I didn't realize that.
I mean, you just think about all the different things that can go wrong when you're doing this. Them running out of air, getting lost, getting stuck.
Do you know who I think they should have sent to save him?
Who?
Sagat.
Sagat from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Why?
Like
because he stick his arm.
He's Thailand's champion.
Wait.
He's the champion from Thailand.
Yeah.
He could have kicked them out or something.
Sagat was such a bastard too. Yeah. I hated fighting Sagat.
Oh, I loved using him though.
Yeah,
I was awesome with him. He was a jerk, man. Second to last guy.
Yep.
Game. Yeah.
Yep. Who was before that? Was it Vega?
Vega, yeah. He was kind of a jerk too.
Yeah, he was. Because who was part of that clan? It was
M. Bison.
M. Bison
is the last guy, then Sagat, then Vega, then Balrog. Yeah. He wasn't that hard.
No, he wasn't. He was an American.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
No, they had the Russian too, didn't they?
That's Zangief, but he wasn't a boss.
He wasn't a boss?
Yeah,
No? I thought he was.
Yeah, 3 Americans in the game. Balrog, Guile, and Ken are the 3 Americans.
There's actually more.
Oh, later? Is there more? Is Cammy?
No, Cammy's British.
Oh, okay.
No, Thunderhawk. Was it Thunderhawk?
Let's see.
Okay. He was actually, he was from Mexico. I'm sorry.
I stopped playing after they
added all the characters.
Yeah, added the 4 new ones after that.
Because there was DJ from Jamaica.
Yeah.
There was...
he was fast, if you recall that.
There was I forgot what his name was. There was the Bruce Lee type of character from...
Oh, yeah,
like Taiwan.
Faye something?
Yeah. He's from Taiwan. I still play that one.
Do you?
I don't play it now, but I still... I didn't quit after Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I still played that one game that came out after. I can't remember if it was Street Fighter 3 or...
No, it's still called Street Fighter 2 something. It's just like they're just kind of capitalizing, added some more characters, re-released it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I thought it was fun. But that's all I have.
Cool. Hey, it's good to be back on the XCast. Loving it. We will catch you back here same time next week, but also we'll hopefully we'll keep you posted on social media, but hopefully we'll be doing the best podcast in history next week, as well as the XCast right here on the EmpireMedia.com and Facebook Live and the myriad of other places we appear. I'm Josh, he's Adam. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it.